Environmental crimes. New term invented to classify environmental crimes.
War crimes. Crimes against humanity. Crimes of aggression. Genocide. These are the 4 crimes against peace. But soon there may be a 5th. Ecocide. British lawyer Polly Higgins wants to see the mass destruction of the environment considered a crime too, on the same level as genocide. If she's successful, environmental cases could be tried at the International Criminal Court, ICC. Ecocide already has its own dictionary definition. The extensive destruction, damage to, or loss of ecosystems of a given territory, whether by human agency or by other causes, to such an extent that peaceful enjoyment by the inhabitants of that territory has been severely diminished. At present, it's very difficult to prosecute companies for environmental crimes. But under an ecocide law, it would be easier to put individuals, such as directors of companies, on trial. This would put more pressure on fossil fuel, mining, agricultural, and chemical companies to act within the law. These measures would also help prevent disasters such as the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. This occurred after an explosion off an offshore drilling rig operating off the coast of Louisiana. The explosion occurred on the 20th of April, 2010, and resulted in a fire that sank the rig and caused a massive oil spill. 11 rig workers were killed, and 17 others were injured. The Deepwater oil well, which is owned by BP, was operating 1,500 meters below sea level. The results have been devastating, with the destruction of marine life and chaos to the Gulf of Mexico fishing and tourism industries. Another ongoing environmental disaster is Alberta Tar Sands. The area in northeastern Alberta, Canada, has large deposits of bitumen, extremely heavy crude oil. These oil sand deposits lie under 141,000 square kilometers of forest and peat bog land. The Niger Delta is another danger zone. Oil companies have operated there for decades with very little environmental supervision. As a result, the region has become heavily polluted, and villagers find it hard to live off the land as the water is poisoned. Let's hope the introduction of ecocide will help stop things like this.
Listening and repeat.
Genocide. Genocide. Genocide.
Genocide. The systematic killing of an ethnic group.
Tried. Tried. Tried.
To try. To start a legal process against someone in order to get compensation.
To such an extent, to such an extent, to such an extent,
to such an extent, to such a level, to such an amount.
enjoyment, enjoyment, enjoyment,
Enjoyment. If you have enjoyment of an area, you can live there happily, comfortably, safely, etc.
the inhabitants, the inhabitants, the inhabitants,
An inhabitant. A person who lives in the area you are referring to.
diminished, diminished, diminished,
To diminish, to reduce, to decrease.
put on trial, put on trial, put on trial,
To put on trial. To start a legal process against someone in order to get compensation.
fossil fuel, fossil fuel, fossil fuel,
A fossil fuel. Energy sources, from the remains of once living organisms, such as oil, gas, coal, etc.
to act within the law, to act within the law, to act within the law,
To act within the law. To do things that are legal, permitted.
offshore, offshore, offshore,
Offshore. Not on land, in the sea.
sank, sank, sank,
To sink. If something sinks, it goes under the water and to the bottom of the sea.
heavy crude oil, heavy crude oil, heavy crude oil,
Heavy crude oil. Very dense oil that has not been refined or processed.
peat bog, peat bog, peat bog,
Peat bog land. An area of land that is wet,